Okay, so this week we're talking about the fact that in California there is a drought, and you can see that here. I'm sure many of you have seen, this everywhere, that the water reserve is really, really down, in almost empty, certainly not in full. And, we've talked about this a while, and you guys know there hasn't really been much rain lately. So we're in a drought, and it's a major, major problem. And I took a photo here. This is just kind of on my street. When people water their lawns, the water, sometimes there's a lot of overwatering or overspray, and the water kind of ends up wasted in the street. And according to the EPA, every day in the United States, 1.5 billion gallons, 1.5 billion gallons a day are lost due to landscape irrigation waste. So watering the grass basically, and the golf courses and whatnot, is a huge waste of water in our country. And this is the same, another view of the same thing. So that big puddle of water doesn't have to be there. And, it's kind of silly to have grass, in my opinion, in Southern California. Grass doesn't belong here. It wasn't really native here. Certainly people who live in the Midwest and other places where it rains, they don't have to sod their lawn. They don't have sprinklers. I have family members who live in the Midwest and the East Coast, and they think it's silly that we have sprinklers. They're like, you guys have sprinklers? It just rains there. So grass grows naturally. And we don't really have that here in Southern California. Grass is not natural. And in order to keep a lawn, there has to be chemical fertilizers and pesticides that get put on the ground right around where people live, and of course sink into the soil, and then into the water, and then pollute the environment. So in order to keep a lawn green in an area like Southern California, where we don't naturally have lawns, we have to kind of do a lot to harm the environment. So here is an image of an example of drought-tolerant landscaping. And these are either drought-tolerant plants or native plants. And the situation with these is that a native plant is adapted to the climate, to its local climate, and therefore it is less prone to disease, so it doesn't need a whole bunch of fertilizers and stuff to grow. It's supposed to be here. It's meant to be here. It lives here naturally. So there's no need for kind of some artificial way to keep it alive, like grass and other tropical plants that aren't native to California. And I think sometimes people's heads think, well, I have to have a lawn because it's beautiful. But I'm going to show you a whole bunch of alternatives that again are local natives and drought tolerant species that are excellent for the climate and don't need as much water. And you can consider the possibility of making this as a career. I put a document in your reading assignment this week that talks about a landscape architect as a career. And this is a hugely growing industry, especially in our area. And sometimes people put these in, and then they'll be the first one on their street. And you can see there's a whole bunch of grass around. And then one neighbor will see it, and then the next neighbor will see it. And if you look around the different neighborhoods, you'll see that there's a lot more drought tolerant stuff going in. And every place you see a drought tolerant area, you're going to know that behind that was a landscaped architect that created it. So some more views showing that, and again, in my opinion, and certainly in many people's opinion, the drought tolerance and the California natives can be as beautiful, if not even more beautiful than the grass. And you could see up there in the neighbor grass, part of it's brown, and two streets up, it's all brown, which just shows you how difficult it is to keep grass green in this area. It's much more easy to plant species that don't need a lot of water, and then they end up thriving here. So here's just a close-up of some local natives that are drought tolerant, and you can see that they're thriving with a little bit of water. A lot of times what happens is the first year to get these type of plants started, you water them, and then after a while you just turn off the sprinklers, and they live. You might kind of tell the homeowner to only water when it's like the middle of the summer and it's the hottest days of the year. Then these plants need watering, but for most of the year they're pretty happy just being as they are. Here's Yet another example. It's been a little bit wet this year, and these plants grow. You may recognize some of them by seeing them around. The ones in the front are really common in Southern California. Some more, you see the top plant on the side of the road. This thing, actually, this plant is mine, and I don't think I've ever watered it as long as I've owned my house since 2002. I've not watered this plant, and it's doing pretty well, as you can see. And then there's another drought-tolerant succulent right at the bottom, doing really well. And you can see what kind of soil this is growing in. Some more landscaping. Again, here's alternatives to grass. And to me, it doesn't maybe look like these people hired a professional to do it. But although it looks pretty good, but you can imagine if you were a professional landscape architect, what kind of ideas and how creative you could be. Again, these people don't have sprinklers, they don't water, and you can see how well their garden is doing. And you can also check out the diversity of different species that really do grow here. I mean, grass is boring. uh, some more yards. So you can kind of look around the different neighborhoods where you live or when you're going around, and you could see that there's a few people starting to lose the grass and to plant, again, these diverse, exotic, local California. In fact, some of the local California plants are more exotic than you would see if you went to someplace. They're beautiful. Again, the diversity of species that you get in Southern California is awesome. So why not use them? Why not be creative with our local plants? Various different views, the pampas grass in the background, different kinds of lavenders, all kinds of purple flowers. And again, none of these, you can see the dirt down there, none of these need very much water. This is one of my favorite parkways, and you can see kind of down the middle, all those are solar powered lights. And this one was newly planted, and you can see kind of all the baby drought tolerance. Those are lavender, and some other lower level shrubs down at the bottom, and those things are going to grow pretty nicely. Um, and I love this yard, big cactus. Those are ice plant in the front, hardly need any water. They're just really going to spread and grow like crazy. And there's lots of flowers on them. So this is the other view. Really beautiful front yard. And you can see the succulents also in this. So sometimes this is what the yard looks like when it's just planted, and then you see it kind of a year or two later, all full grown in. I mean, maybe not as grown as like this in a year or two, but this is a professionally done yard. And again, there's no grass, all local plants, all drought tolerant plants. And if you want a little bit of water, you can see there's a fountain back there. But I think this kind of career gives you a great opportunity to, help the environment a lot, and people are really happy. You get to be outside. There's, just tons of advantages with this kind of a career designing. Most of the landscape architects own their own business and have employees. So if that is kind of what interests you, if I wasn't a college professor, this would be a job that I think I would be interested in doing, because it looks like it marries together kind of a business sense and a creative sense and an artistic sense, and being outside and look at the results of what you get to do. Again, this is just showing you how diverse the local California natives are, and how great some of the outcomes are of the creativity of the designers who make these gardens. And again, this is like someone's front yard instead of grass. They get all these flowers. So now I'm going to show you some things about composting and other ways to save water. So this is a rain barrel, and that green tube at the top collects water from the roof and goes into the barrel there. And it's one way to water instead of using sprinklers. It's one way of collecting water for your garden, and you can kind of see that there is some water in there from the last time it rained. And here's an example of composting. So instead of, remember we did the landfill exercise last week, instead of creating a whole bunch of stuff to go into the landfill, you can take everything except for meat and bones, and you can take everything that's biodegradable and just put it in one of these composting bins, and it turns into some amazing organic fertilizer. So there's putting some stuff in the compost bin. And it's taken us, like, this is a new one that we have, and the old one, it took us about 5 years to fill it up. So that, I mean, and that's, we eat home a lot and we make a lot of stuff. And yet it all just kind of squishes in there, and the worms and bacteria digest it and turn it into this amazing fertilizer. Every once in a while, you put some water in there. Worms get thirsty too. And here's the other one that's been sitting still for about 6 months. So we filled this one up. It took about 5 years to fill it up. And then we left it and started filling up the other one. And we left it for about 6 months to do its work. So today we're going to kind of uncover it and see what's underneath there. And you can see what the dirt looks like around it. It's just pretty much dust and, not very fertile soil. No plants really growing in it. And just that one banana tree that doesn't look like it's doing very well. So here's what it kind of looks like as you pull the lid off. And yeah, there's a couple things in the front. You can see an egg shell that didn't get fully decomposed by the worms and the bacteria. But all that black is really, really healthy. It's called humus. That's decomposed soil, and that's the good soil. That's the stuff with all the vitamins in it that you want in your garden. So when we take the lid off, that's what it looked like. So 5 years of stuff, it all kind of compressed down over the last few months into this really, really rich, healthy soil. And you can see in the back that black color, that's like where the best nutrients are in this fertilizer. So this is, again, all our kitchen scraps, coffee grinds, the nubs of vegetables, just everything that, leftovers, stuff that goes moldy in the refrigerator, you just kind of throw it in there. Up on the right-hand side, where it's closest to where the air was in the front, you see just a couple of things didn't get totally composted, decomposed. So we're going to, take a shovel and put that stuff into the new bin that you saw earlier. But, you can see now we took that away, and that's this fully decomposed mound of really, really, really healthy soil. And we spread it around and spread it all the way around. You can see that whole area that was kind of really unhealthy dust now is covered with this rich, rich black, super fertile soil. And so then we planted some peas. So those are sweet peas. So hopefully they'll grow really, really nice and tall.